This is national championship head coach from the UConn Huskies. Please welcome Dan Hurley.
It is a UConn coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
Me, my brother Bobby, my sister Melissa, my parents, we were a really strong starting five. The only people I yell at on game night are the refs, or maybe if a fan is yelling at me on the way out after a game, I may have an interaction there that's regrettable.
I'll give you the last word on Maurice, because you know that's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
I don't want to talk him up so much that, somebody steals him from us. He's one of one, Mo. Clarett, man. Coach, great to be on with you, Coach.
Thanks so much. I'm not even going to lie to the viewers. I'm not big time enough to know Dan Hurley that well, but I know people who do. And one of the dearest people in my life, in fact, you can see his jersey over my shoulder here, is Maurice Clarett. And Maurice has been a guy that's fallen in love with the Huskies basketball program. And he was sending me texts from the national championship game with his gear on and all the rest. And so a shout out to Maurice for letting us put this together. And he told me back when we started this podcast to talk about team. And I don't think people talk about team enough. They talk about themselves. And he said, you have to get Coach Hurley. And so here we are. And so I'm going to start out from the get-go, because our lives are somewhat similar, because we were blessed to have the role model at home, both with both of our parents, and got to be around great games. And I don't pretend to know anything about basketball, Coach. Thad Mott is one of my dearest friends. Jim O'Brien was with us, and my office was 2 doors down from Jim Boeheim when I worked at Syracuse. But anyway, so just like in my family, you had a chance to grow up watching a father who's in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, what he win, 28 state championships or something?
Yeah, he. If I screw it up, he'll correct me. Yeah, most state championships. In the history of high school basketball, the national championships, the amount of lives obviously that he changed. But just the his commitment. I think it was really just two things that I've always tried to model, with my dad. Obviously, we had an incredibly tight-knit family. Me, my brother Bobby, my sister Melissa, my parents, we were a really strong starting five. I mean, we were just so connected and so supportive of each other. And then obviously watching my dad as a coach, just how he poured every single thing that he had within his person into his players, into his team, and into his family. And that's pretty much all my dad, really focused on. We're not very well-rounded people, us Hurleys. We don't have a lot but our team and our family.
Yep, no, I hear you. And I was blessed to have a starting five of my own, my mom and dad and 2 brothers. And growing up on a college campus like I did, going to practice every day. And as you say, you saw the lives that were being touched. The games were fine, and, proud that my father's in the College Football Hall of Fame and all that, but not like I still run into 80-year-olds that if it weren't for my dad, they don't know how their lives would have been, and especially true with my mom. And, when we talk about building teams, sometimes the unknown people on the team maybe have more impact than the others. Talk a little bit about Mom.
Yeah. The perfect buffer, because, things get intense, they get, perspective gets lost at times. You're so dialed into, to victory and to your craft and to being successful, that you need a civilian in there somewhere that just has unconditional love for you. And being a coach's wife is not an easy task. Being the mother of a high achieving person that's striving and pushing is it's a critical role, just for that perspective, and just for a normal relationship is is critical, because we're so dialed in.
It's interesting. I had two brothers. You had a brother and a sister. Uh, my oldest brother went on and became a head coach in Division III college football, and then I was lucky enough to have him come with us at Ohio State and spend 10 years with us, and so people knew who he was. Uh, but my middle brother, 37 years as a middle school teacher, uh, I learned more about pouring into others and making a difference and not caring if you're in the spotlight. Was Melissa a little bit the same way with you guys?
Yeah, but, Melissa was, she was our little sister, so we were your, typical big brothers, very protective of her, and she sacrificed.
Mm.
She sacrificed. There's a family mission that centers around basketball. She did not develop a passion to play the game, but she became like a surrogate, little sister of the team, and she's still, up until the day that my dad's that St. Anthony closed and my dad stopped coaching. She evolved into one of the big supporters and just unselfish, and let kind of the Hurley guys, go and attack this basketball thing, and supported the heck out of us.
That's exactly the way my middle brother was, and he was the toughest of the bunch. In fact, unfortunately, we lost him a year and a half ago. But I remember sitting in his hospital room, and he was saying, "Man, you know what? I just cannot wait to get to heaven." I mean, he had no fear, and he supported us with that kind of passion, and not many people knew his name, other than if I go back to my hometown where he was a 37-year teacher.
Yeah.
They know him more than they know the rest of us, because he was 50 years a swimming coach,
Yeah.
and so forth. So what made you go to Seton Hall?
Just a lot of pressure, a lot of, like, it wasn't probably my preference at the time. I felt, for me, I probably would have liked to have selected maybe one of the other schools that were recruiting me, but there's a lot of school pressure, a lot of family pressure, a lot of pressure within the state, because at the time Seton Hall was like one of the best programs in the country under PJ.
Sure.
But in my mind, I was probably thinking I would have preferred a different setting, but I caved.
So what did you learn about building teams from PJ?
Oof. Just the obviously you play for someone like my dad, and I found myself probably practice one freshman year, kind of finishing a lot of coaches' sentences in my mind. Stuff that defensive principles, fundamental things. A lot of those things, you're so well coached by someone like my dad that a lot more than what a lot of the other players were learning for the first time. I would say with PJ, like, how to build a tough team through, like, really, really, tough practice plans that build a real tough team. The detail in preparation for opponents through the scouting, just how detailed and how prepared we were for games, and then the importance of just something like rebounding the basketball, just how critically important that ball possession would be to, even though it's not glamorous, how important that is to outcomes.
We used to tell our football teams, no rebounds, no rings. And I forget which basketball coach said that, but we said no takeaways, no rings. If you don't get that loose ball, you're not going to get any rings. But I also read, as I was studying up on Coach Hurley, there was a sister Catherine that was a big part of
Mm,
your team.
yeah. So I was struggling, mightily in college, just performance anxiety, things not going the way, you hope they would. And just struggling with severe anxiety, and then after poor performance, dealing with a lot of sadness, a lot of frustration, a lot of depression. So I was fortunate enough, to meet a sister, Catherine Waters, who worked in counseling services at Seton Hall, and just that building that relationship. becoming vulnerable. Growing up in Jersey City as a man, there weren't a lot of men walking around that were being very vulnerable about their feelings. So, that relationship, opening up to somebody, it just became a different type of relationship for me, and an opportunity to, develop a little bit of, balance in the way I looked at myself as a human being. She got me to focus on my spiritual life, my relationship, with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. My relationships off the court, my efforts as a student, not just an athlete. And it helped me become a more well-rounded human being.
It's interesting listening to that is, we used to talk to our teams all the time. It's more important to build who you are than what you do.
Mm.
And once you're at peace with who you are and you're striving to become that best person, then what you do, you're going to do it better. And it's so hard in this moment in society, and even in the moments you and I grew up, the expectation, oh, you're the coach's son, you're going to be a good player, or you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But first I got to be who I need to be. And then what I do, we'll see what I earn. But those members of the team, I think back to the teams I coached. I was 25 years a head coach, and the number of people you wouldn't even not know their names who impacted our kids in helping them understand who they are. And then, of course, the coaches helping them do their craft of what they do. That's how you build teams. And the real reason, Coach, we wanted to create this podcast was to help people add value. I don't care what team you're building, the team at home, team at your business, team at your nonprofit, your sports team. It's about certain fundamental things that you have to do, and it starts with who you are. And I'm sure that's what Sister Catherine made that connection for you, and it probably has carried you ever since.
Yeah, it's this pursuit, Coach, like you said, it's this consistent pursuit of becoming the most powerful version of yourself. The just continuing to find new ways to get better and to be better, and whether that's through quality relationships with the people you care about, or your pursuit of mastering the craft of coaching, or building championship level people. Like this whole to get to this point as a player, everyone here is talented. Everyone here has great ability, but who's going to become the best version of themselves? Who's going to develop their mind and be able to control their emotions, and develop like habits and a mentality that's going to allow them we're in a decision making business, right? Like, should I shoot? Should I pass? Should I drive? Like, this is decision making all the way. So the sharper you are mentally, the better version of yourself that you are, the better decisions you're going to make, and the happier you're going to be, the better you're going to perform.
Well, that's what Maurice has been telling me ever since he's been working with you is he doesn't know anything about X's and O's for basketball, but he knows when he sees someone helping develop the person. And when the person is developed, then if you're good enough, you can go earn the rest. But so you decided to go coach for your dad then right after college?
Yeah, right after.
Right. So how was it different? I never coached for my dad. In fact, it was funny. My oldest brother applied for a job with my dad. My dad said no. He was one of those tough love guys. No, I'm sorry. But how was it different playing for him and coaching for him? And what did you learn beyond when you coached for him that you didn't know having played for him?
Well, it wasn't quite as intimidating coaching with him as it was playing for him.
Right, right.
My dad is an intimidating figure, and somebody that just commands disrespect. His stature, his personality, the way he presents, and for me, there were not a lot of suggestions I was making early on. It was a lot of
listening,
a ton of learning, and I think he, parceled out opportunities for me to, to build over the course of that year with my dad. Maybe a month or two in, he was letting me, solely work with the guards. And then a couple of months in, he was allowing me to do my first scouting report. And he just, kind of, as I grew and as I was developing, he gave me more responsibilities. That obviously for me turned into, by the end of that first year, he had put me in a position where I was able to, to get into the college game.
And then you went on to Rutgers, is that right? And
Yeah.
who was the head coach there?
Kevin Bannon.
Okay. What you
Yeah,
learned from Kevin about team?
I learned a lot, a lot from Kevin about the offensive end of the court, and then just his personality, with the, with the players. He was a very, very charismatic coach. Obviously, things didn't work out, for us in the end there, but he gave me my shot at the college level. And without that experience on my resume, I probably don't get my shot down the road at Wagner.
Well, and I've had a lot of guests on our episodes, and all of us have come to the conclusion we learned more from our tough times than we did from when everything went just right. And you reach back on, hey, here's what I've learned, here's what I can do better. And so you spent about 10 years then at St. Benedict's.
Yeah, yes, the
And
best. I mean,
and where is St. Benedict's? I'm an Ohio guy, so help me with that.
yeah, I mean that's North Jersey, that's Newark, that's Brick City right
Okay,
there, and yeah, it's a unique school. It's an incredible institution. One of the great, one of the great high schools in New Jersey, and the headmaster at that school is an institution, and he's an absolute legend in New Jersey education, Father Edwin Leahy, and just learned so much from him about leadership and um, learned how to build a program there. Took over, my first head coaching opportunity. Obviously, was able to make tons of mistakes there without the
right.
pressure, right? I mean, without the pressure of Division One media and donors and fan base scrutinizing every move. I was able to, develop my own leadership style and my own philosophies and identity as a coach. While also learning perspective, because I was a history teacher and I also worked in admissions. And I remember one of the first things Father Ed told me after a particularly excruciating loss, when I felt like I would never recover, don't forget your job here, coach, is to help raise kids.
Yep.
And don't ever forget that as you suffer over the results.
Well, it's interesting. I was sitting with Coach Day over at Ohio State recently, and we were talking about lessons learned and all those things. And Coach Day had never been a head coach, and then all of a sudden he's the head coach at Ohio State. And he was talking about this and that, and I said, well, I had 15 years at Youngstown State to screw up major, and to figure out a bunch of things that I needed to do better, and you know then you're still going to screw up when you move forward, but for the viewers, the experiences you have, going out and having that opportunity to learn and progress and make sure you understand, what's most important. And as I was thinking about being on with you, here's one of my pet peeves.
Mm.
And I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but I grew up around sport, and the values that we learned from it were what was the most valuable thing to take into life. Getting your rear end kicked, getting up, working hard, discipline, sitting on the bench if you had to, all those different things. And it truly, to me, was education.
Mm.
And, then I spent 48 years in higher ed,
Mm.
and I've watched the evolution. And a little bit of my pet peeve is that, it's turned into a little bit more entertainment than education.
Yeah.
And now it still educates, but it's harder sometimes to talk to those young people about what they're learning and how valuable that is versus, what money they might make later or whatever. But Does that one ever cross your mind? Because it wears me out.
Can I have like 10 minutes on this? Straight? Like, so coach, for me, it's like, I say this a lot and the players look at me like I'm crazy. Like, I don't ever look now at 51 years old. I look at, you know, my brother's career in basketball was obviously much different, college and NBA. We had different levels of success, but I don't believe for a second that my brother got more out of playing basketball than I did.
Right.
Whether he was the seventh pick and I was undrafted, or my brother, was a two-time national champion, I never climbed that mountain. It's just the qualities, the characteristics that you develop, as being a part of a team, and handling failure and success, and
Yep.
the ability to work and sacrifice and accountability and responsibility. And I'm with you. I think we're dumbing it. I think we're making I think we're making men weaker.
Yep.
By the world hasn't really changed that much. The world is still incredibly competitive, right? It's incredibly competitive, incredibly cruel world that we're in, that you've got to be incredibly resilient, tough, talented. You need all these traits and abilities. And if we make men softer, and we hold our athletes less accountable, I don't think we're helping them. I
No.
think we're making them weaker for a very difficult, challenging world.
Well, we're using them is what bothers me. And then when they can't run as fast, jump as high, throw as well, whatever, uh, all of a sudden we're on the phone with them where they're struggling with, hey, this is new in my life. Ever since I was 8 years old, I was being taken care of or whatever. And so anyway, I got off on a tangent there. So how did you get the chance to go to Wagner?
We really had an extraordinary high school program. It was not your typical high school program. It was, it was very, very high level Division I players, and and an excellent team, and it was a local job at a local, like, lowest level Division I program in Staten Island, not too far. So from where the Hurley name really resonates,
Mm-hmm.
and just got into an interview situation, kind of worked my way into an interview with up against a lot of high major assistant coaches from across the country, and big time programs. And I think just my interview, I think, and the way that I talked about building a program the way you would as a high school coach, I think sounded different than kind of the carbon copy, cookie cutter, college high major coach that's going to just emulate this system that they
Right.
learned.
Yeah.
So I stood out with,
Mm-hmm.
with the way I talked about building a program, and my leadership style and the approach I was going to take. And it's an unlikely thing, because there's not many high school coaches that get head Division I
No.
coaches right out of the chute.
So as you think back to day one at Wagner and knowing that you had to set the stage for building a team, what do you recall being the first message you wanted them to have?
That I wasn't going to discard anybody. That I'm a transformational coach. I'm not transactional. Listen, the work rate, the the standards, the unwaveringly high standards that were going to be bestowed upon everyone associated with the program was going to be incredibly uncomfortable. But the payout was going to be excellence, and learning how to be successful, and it was going to change every person's lives that stays in the fight, and builds this with us. It's not a Hollywood movie, so not everyone was able to. Not everyone that started with us finished with us.
Mm-hmm.
Because the standards and what we were looking to do was not for everyone. But that initial meeting, I wanted to send that message, and we were able to turn it around.
I don't want the viewers to miss what you said right at the beginning. You're a transformational coach and not a transactional. And to me, one of the critical things one has to do as they go and take on some responsibility for creating that team
Mm.
is help people understand that this isn't a transactional situation. This is, we're going to we're going to transform your lives. We're going to transform this team. We're going to make a difference at this university,
Mm.
um, and paint that vision and paint that, uh, set that bar really high. And you spent what, 3 seasons there or two?
I've two there,
Two there.
two, maybe my favorite years in coaching.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny. My dad used to always talk about, and I lost him many years ago when he was 56, but he spent 5 seasons at a high school called Mentor High School out here in Ohio. And he and my mom used to always say that was the favorite place they ever coached. They had great success and, all those things, but it was their first really chance to rock and roll. And they went on to, bigger and better things. But, you remember those. And people ask me all the time, do you like the Youngstown better or the Ohio State better? And I loved them both. But there's something about that first chance you get when,
Yeah.
when someone gave you a chance, so then you went on to URI, which is traditionally pretty good program, right?
Yeah.
And great
Yeah.
opportunity. And how did you try to set that stage similarly or any different than Wagner?
Well, at this point, Coach, I'm in I know how to build programs. I've been through it. The high school program I took over at St. Benedict's had a losing record. The team I took over at Wagner was 5-26.
Hmm.
The team I took over at Rhode Island was 7-24.
Hmm.
So I'd been through this process before of imagining before I take the job what my staff needs to look like to be able to not only coach the way I want but recruit to that particular program. And I know the process. I know the small wins along the way. I know the battles to build the culture and fighting every little battle along the way. Oh, wait, said player was just 30 seconds late for study hall, but I'm treating it like the greatest assault on
Right.
our program in the history. And just losing is just seeped into the bones of the organization, and how you have to scratch and claw and fight to build winning habits. And then forget uh, the talent upgrades and the improvement of your tactics and schemes, just to get people functioning in and around the program, whether it's the strength coach that you inherit or the academic support or the marketing people. It's not just a team that is performing badly, it's everything around the team is also carrying themselves, for the most part, in a losing manner.
Let me go back to the part about your staff that you brought up right at the beginning. One of the things that I grew to believe is that I wasn't worried about getting a bunch of geniuses and gurus who could dazzle you on the whiteboard. I wanted to get the kind of people that had the same beliefs, the same mission, uh, and maybe they hadn't coached defense before, and I was going to need them to coach defense, but I knew they were the right person. And I think for our viewers, that can't go unnoticed. Is that it's the kind of people that you put in very important roles on your team, the
That's right.
kind of person they are, and uh, and that's so critical. And I always say that the winners win because they know who to surround their young people with. So then you went on to UConn, and I mean, we all know about UConn, and talk through when you got there. Was it any different than getting to Wagner, or was it the same, or what do you? How did it go?
Well, you have the absolute same messaging.
Yeah.
Nothing was different in terms of that first meeting and what that looks like. Obviously for me there was a lot of considerations I had to make for myself. There was a lot of soul searching because this job is a pressure cooker. The last two coaches on the men's side before me both won national championships. And Coach Calhoun is one of the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Ollie, and then you've got Gino on the other side with
Mm-hmm.
11. So it's like do you want this type of heat? And for me, in my mind, I really, as I was thinking through it, and can I recruit to this place? Does this fit my geographical footprint in terms of the way I'm going to recruit? Can I get the quality of staff around me here? Can I hire the right people? And then, are you built for it? And just soul searching on that, just knowing that I've got very thick skin. I've got a father who's a Hall of Fame coach. I got a brother who's the greatest point guard in college basketball history. So I've got the ability to kind of handle criticism and comparisons and all those things because of my upbringing and what I've always had to deal with in basketball. So, I was a little spooked that we weren't in the Big East anymore. And the AAC thing was a little bit scary because that was the league we were in. But I wanted to prove myself. I believed I had the proper training, like coaches used to have training. Coaches used to be high school coaches, then low Division I, then mid-major, and used to have to kind of take these steps.
Yep.
You used to work camps in the summer where you ran stations, coached the team. That was like how coaches were developed back in the day. It's not like that anymore. That's why I think that particularly in basketball, I think we're devaluing coaches a little bit too much, and I think it's in the end it's going to hurt basketball. But I felt like I was trained properly for this step up.
Hey teammates, I want to tell you about a project we're working on with Youngstown State University. One of the ways Ellen and I have decided to give back is through the Trestle Institute for Leadership and Teamwork. We've collected a set of successful business and nonprofit leaders to serve as guest servant leaders in partnership with the Sokolov Honors College to teach university students teamwork, leadership, and personal skills. We teach from a foundation built on gratitude, excellence, hope, love, and selflessness. If you're a young person or parent helping to search for a unique college experience, you can learn more at trestleinstitute.ysu.edu or ysu.edu. Links will be provided in the show notes. You're only 51 and you sound like a dinosaur like I am. I'm 71 3/4, but and I just had this conversation with an athletic director, and he asked me, he said, "Well, you've seen our team play, what?" And I said, I just don't see your staff as having been through as educators. They know how to use all the fancy technology and they know how to use all the stuff, but I don't know if they know how to coach kids and ask kids to do what they can do. And so it's crazy. But I had the same question asked to me a million times when I went from Youngstown State to Ohio State. What did you do different? I said, nothing. Nothing. We changed our wheel of life to a block O of life, but it was the same. It was the same thing, and yeah, my guys were bigger and faster, but, so were the other team's guys, and so, but I had the blessing of having great teachers. Of course they could recruit. You had an opportunity at Ohio State or at UConn that people are at least going to take a look. Then they're going to check you out. And are they going to see if you're genuine and so forth? But you're not going to have a problem with someone at least taking a peek. And, so I feel you on that. So basketball practice.
Yeah.
I remember I used to watch, they had a YouTube back before it was YouTube. I don't know what it was, of Bobby Knight's practices. And, everyone used to think Bobby Knight was kind of the, this crazy guy. But Bobby Knight's practices were as instructional. I mean, it was it totally debunked anything you might have thought about Bobby Knight, because now you thought he was some PhD teacher. And I've seen Thad coach and Jim O'Brien and those guys, and I never really watched Boeheim coach because we were always out recruiting. Back in the 80s when I was at Syracuse, there was no recruiting calendar, so I might as well just not bought a house. But anyway, tell me what you think the key is in practice to build a team.
Yeah, I think stress. I think efficiency. I think stress, efficiency, pace, competitiveness. I mean, my philosophy has been shaped from playing for my dad, from my own playing experience through years of trial and error as a head coach, and I make practice as absolutely as fast paced as I can make it. Obviously, as detail oriented um, in terms of the structure of going from live live action to non-live breakdown work, to keep the intensity up between reps in drill settings and then in live settings. Um, I think there's some viral videos going around with me right now that seem really really old school, but really the philosophy is I try to create conditions in practice that will simulate the stress and pressure that the players will feel on game night, so that they can function on game night in a manner like I've been here before.
Yep.
I don't have to show up to the arena and get ready because what this coach has been putting us through has us ready. And then when I coach on game night, I'm just calling the game and I'm just supporting the players' confidence. The only people I yell at on game night are the refs, or maybe if a fan is yelling at me on the way out after a game and I don't like it, I may have an interaction there that's regrettable for both parties or just for them. But I don't. That's a misnomer. My coaching style is way different in preparation for performance. Once performance becomes, I become a much different person for my players because there's nothing more important on game night than a player's confidence. I'm
Yep.
not making a lot of corrections. I'm just trying to really build up confidence. If a player's struggling with shooting or struggling with production or just having a bad night, I'm just doing everything I can to pull them out of it, support them, and get them to play better.
And put them in the right position. That was the other thing that I had a conversation with this AD. The best staffs figure out what their guys are good at, and they put them in the best position. And as you say, on game night, that's already in place, and you're just trying to maybe enhance. You didn't know what the other team was going to do, so you want to tweak something to put them in better condition, better
Yeah.
position, and one lesson I learned, and for the viewers, this was a tough lesson. So we went to the national championship 4 straight years at Youngstown State, won 3 of them, and then we're 3-8.
Mm,
And we were like, whoa, what happened? And what was funny was, yeah, we graduated some guys, but we thought we had recruited more talent.
mm,
So we thought, well, if we've got talented guys, it's got to be us. What did we do? So we went back and we looked at our practice schedules for the last 4 years. And you know what we found? We found an evolution
mm,
over a 4-year period that we were spending a little bit less time on fundamentals.
mm,
And it was, I mean, there was a data thing that just showed you. And
mm.
here we were with younger talent coming along, and we were not training them up like we trained up the guys before. And
That's
you
right.
know what? It wasn't their fault. And so that's something for the viewers. If you want your team to be good, make sure you don't ignore those fundamentals. Make sure that you don't get fancy and too creative,
Mhm.
and forget about shooting and rebounding, blocking and tackling, whatever your fundamentals are. And that's so critical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I got 2 last questions for you, and I appreciate your time so much. And we've kind of talked a little bit about selecting staff, but
Mhm.
help our viewers understand what you look for in selecting players.
Mm. That's evolved and it's improved. It's improved and it's been I think a huge reason for our success. I think there's athletic traits and thresholds, positional size, length, whatever, athleticism. The thresholds in terms of like if you're a guard, your ability to pass and obviously shoot and different skills that you have to have a baseline of to even be considered for, the programs like ours. But man, I tell you what, Coach, I've gotten a lot smarter because I've put way more emphasis on not just athletic talent and upside, but players that really are able to make reads and process the game and really just know how to play and could pick up concepts and could make decisions quickly. So I'm willing right now to give back a little bit of athleticism, maybe a little bit of positional size to go for, people that can process the game and can absorb a lot of information and detail in a sophisticated style of playing without freezing up and not being able to go out and actually make plays. So, and then I look at their personality and what they're going to bring into my locker room. I look for pedigree. I love, really like good families, families that hold their kids accountable, that just don't blame the coach when things are going bad or are always complaining about recruiting rankings and their travel coaches and and then like when they're playing, does their coach look like they really love coaching them? Does the player and the high school coach, does that a great bond? Do their teammates look like they like them? Do they go pick them up when they fall down, or are they just like the teammates look like, oh, this guy's a complete jerk, egomaniac? He'll come in and he'll just sink our locker room and sink our culture and the vibe amongst this pack of Huskies. And I don't want to recruit talented players that I know are going to make us lose. Some of the best players in the country, when you evaluate them, that, they're going to make their own interests bigger than the UConn interests. And if that's going to be the situation, what's the point?
Last question, and this is one that Maurice observed. And I know Maurice gets with you a couple times a year, whatever, and feels like he has that Husky vibe. I mean, he feels like he knows you. And he says, Coach won't let someone come on this team if the team isn't more important than the person. And so for all of our viewers, if we could all have that magic, we would want to have that magic. How do you assess that as you look into who you're bringing with the team, player and coach, I suppose, and anyone around your program?
Yeah. Hey, Coach, and will you let me just say something about Maurice at the end too? Can I
Absolutely.
I think our visits are structured different when we bring recruits on campus. Like we don't just send them to do social things. We don't send them, necessarily. We'll go to a football game, but we'll go there with the recruit. Like we spend a lot of time with the recruits while they're on a visit. Like we watch film, we watch a lot of film. We have multiple meetings about our culture, our philosophy. We have open Q&A with the family where they can kind of grill us on our philosophy. Our players are very involved with the visit. We ask their opinion of the players and whether they're our type of guys. We also too, we're very clear when we're recruiting a player that we've got to meet at the midpoint. Your NBA desire, your desire to become the best professional basketball player that you can be, has got to meet our desire to win championships at this perfect midpoint. Like it's I'm not going to put our interest of winning championships above your development. We are going to develop you in equal measure to us winning championships. And there's a perfect balance that you can find. We're doing it right now. We're the premier pound for pound. We're the best college basketball program in the country. Pound for pound, we're one of the best basketball organizations in the world right now in terms of developing players, for the NBA and winning
Mm-hmm.
championships. So there is a perfect balance that you can meet, and we want to look. We bring in players that want to be part of a great team, that like care about being in a locker room with people that they're going to love playing with. I still think that there's players that still value wanting to be in a locker room and part of a great team that's connected like brothers.
Well, to me, what that message to the viewers is it's not a casual evaluation. It's an in-depth. I used to say I talk to the cafeteria worker in the school.
Mhm.
I talk to the janitor. I talk to the kid that never gets in the game at the school because I want to know what this kid's about. And that's so critical. And the one about your players being involved, we used to always tell our guys, hey, you guys have the last right of refusal. I don't care where we have them ranked on our recruiting board. If you come into my office and say, hey, look, I don't know if he's a good player or not, but coach, I don't think so. And we had some guys who ended up being NFL stars, by the way,
Mhm. Mhm.
elsewhere. But our guys didn't think that they were the right fit for us. I'll give you the last word on Maurice because that's one of
Mm.
my favorite people in the whole world.
Yeah. So, we brought Maurice in here, really early when we're building this thing and or rebuilding it, and the program was, things were very fragile, and I think one of the things that I think was able to help us form a mentality and start developing an identity here was bringing Maurice in. If you're a program or an organization, that is in need of identity, identification, and a wake up call, in terms of bringing in an impactful speaker that's going to move the needle a little bit with individuals, in an impactful way of leveling up their approach to life. Maurice changed players in this program. He made our team stronger, and he's still a part of what we do. I don't want to talk him up so much that somebody steals him. Somebody steals him from us, because he's an integral part of our players' development here, of our team building here. And he's played a huge role in us becoming a championship level program. Maurice Clarett. And like when he spoke to our team in the room, we just got off the court, coach, and like I'll never forget it. So like we're in the video room, so we just finished practice. The guys go directly into the video room. So players got to put ice on their knees,
Mm-hmm.
right? Shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
knees, elbow, whatever, right? So everyone's iced up, and Maurice speaks for an hour. It was so gripping.
Hmm.
What he was saying was so gripping and so impactful. Like no one moved. Guys maybe got frostbite or hypothermia because people were literally afraid to like open up the cap on their bottle to make a noise with the intensity of the message, how gripping it was. He's one of one, Mo Clarett, man.
Well, no one could steal him from UConn basketball. I'm gonna tell you that right now because Maurice is not for sale. Okay, and what I'm excited about is he's spending a little time with our Buckeyes.
Mhm.
And I just talked to Ryan, and Ryan said, I've learned so much from Maurice, and I'm so excited he's back in step with them. But he'll start getting the itch in November. Say, hey, I got to go to Connecticut. But Coach, I can't thank you enough. I admire you. I I love the climb, but I also like the fact that you're not just interested in the climb; you're interested in the going forward, and you make us proud to be a teacher and a coach and a winner. And I appreciate what you've done for Maurice because you say he's been good for you. You guys have been good for him, and anyone that's good to one of my children, is important. And to all the fans out there, Now, don't forget, it's all about the team, and root for the Huskies.
Hey, Coach, I got nothing more important than having respect from coaches like you, like real coaches, pure coaches. And this was a thrill to me. It was a thrill for me to be on here with you, Coach. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Have a great year. Until next time, don't forget, it's all about the team.